All right, good morning. Here we go on a gorgeous Tuesday morning. It is a little bit warmer this morning, not nearly as cold. But I'll tell you what. I've got a couple different things, couple different observations from last night. And we're going to jump into that. We've got day number 1. Opening night of the NBA is tonight as well. We've got the winner of the American League, and we're really looking forward to the World Series. We got plenty of stuff to go over, and as always, we will go over the injury list. Every single injury, and there are plenty of them now. The injuries are piling up across the board, and I tell you what, it's going to make teams in the NFL make moves. Their hand will be forced. They will have to make a move. So Um, let's open with the World Series. The World Series is going to be the Blue Jays versus the Dodgers. The World Series has um, two historic teams in it. They have the best team in the American League, who most thought was going to be the most successful team in the National League. On the other side, the LA Dodgers. And last night's game between the Mariners and the Blue Jays was a perfect culmination of a hard-fought series. It was just everything. Really, it was. It was just everything that you want as a baseball fan. Let me set the scene for you. The way that I see this game may be a little bit different than others. But the way I see this game is bottom of the seventh. The Mariners are up 3-1. Runners are on second and third. And they have George Springer coming up to bat for the Blue Jays. Now, there's a lot of different things you could say that the Mariners should have done. And I will agree with it. I will. I will agree with it. The number one thing I would have done is I would have taken the bat out of Springer's hands. You had bottom of the seventh, one out, runners on second and third. I would have walked Springer to set up a bases loaded. Brought up Lukes to be able to get the ground ball double play. I would have played that game. First time in that scenario in a long time. I am obviously a manager. I love playing the mind games, the chess pieces, if you will. That is something that I love. I love that about the game. Baseball with the managerial, between Joe Madden and Terry Francona, good gosh. Just that World Series was so full of making this move, counter moves. It was great. And I remember watching many series back with the Tony La Russa Cardinals, the Boston Red Sox, just managing to win the game. And I felt pitching to George Springer was giving yourself a really bad shot at winning the game. And to George Springer's credit, he absolutely crushed that baseball. It was a gorgeous hit. It was absolutely awesome. But I would not have even let him be there. I would have walked George Springer. I would have brought up Lukes and gone for a double play ball. I don't like just conceding a run automatically. And in a ground out scenario, and in most places, I think that's what it was. This is for a shot at the World Series. So although I don't agree with the idea to pitch to him, it was an option. You could easily talk yourself into why he did it. But I'm not doing it. I want the bases loaded in that scenario. I want the opportunity for a ground ball to end the inning and get me out of the inning completely. That's what I want. But huge congratulations to the Blue Jays. They were the number one team in the American League for a long time. They stumbled down the stretch. They have the bats to be able to bat against the Dodgers. I don't know what it is with the Brewers, with if they were intimidated or whatever. Listen, the Dodgers are a very good team because they bought all the players. Listen, I'm also a realist. Okay, yeah, you bought all the players. You better have the success. So the Dodgers should be in the World Series. Regardless of anything else, the amount of money they have spent, they better be in the World Series. It's that simple. So they are there, and I do believe the Blue Jays can match up with them bat-wise. We'll see if they can match up with them pitching. We'll see. We will see. All right, in hockey news last night, the Minnesota Wild. I did pretty good on this one. Pretty good on my hockey bets last night. Minnesota Wild beat the Rangers 3-1. Philadelphia Flyers beat the Kraken 5-2. The Montreal Canadiens beat the Sabres 4-2. Winnipeg kept the Calgary Flames just reeling as of right now, beating them 2-1. And then the Vegas Knights won over the Carolina Hurricanes 4-1. Tonight, we do have a couple of games. We have a game that at least we can actually watch on ESPN. We have a doubleheader of the Panthers versus the Bruins and the Avalanche versus the Mammoth. Those games are tonight. The San Jose Sharks are going to try to finally get a W when they play the New York Islanders tonight as well. But the big thing about tonight, opening night for the NBA. And it's not on ESPN. It's not on ESPN. It is on NBC. At 7:30, the Houston Rockets and the new look Houston Rockets with Kevin Durant take on the Oklahoma City Thunder as they raise their banner for the NBA Finals. Then at 10 o'clock, the Golden State Warriors play the Los Angeles Lakers. LeBron James is going to be out. It's Luka Doncic's show, and we'll see what happens with LeBron throughout the year. Now, you may be asking, okay, Hawk, how are you going to incorporate basketball now into everything? Well, I'm glad you asked. The same way I kind of do hockey for the time being. The NBA doesn't really matter, per se, until January. We'll keep track every day. Huge injuries, big news, updates, stuff like that. We will be on top of every single day. Basketball will take football's place in January / February as we continue moving forward and looking for what we're going to be doing. But yesterday, two big things happened. So the Pacers gave Aaron Nesmith a 2-year, $40 million extension. And they've also got a trade kicker in that as well. The Atlanta Hawks signed Dyson Daniels to a 4-year, $100 million extension. And then you have the Denver Nuggets, who signed Christian Bond to a 5-year, $125 million extension. And as far as fantasy, we do have the first fantasy league for Thunder Sports, and that will be part of what we do after the new year. So in January, the fantasy weekly update will switch from football to basketball. So we'll be keeping track of individual players, individual performances, because sometimes there's a lot of good performances that just kind of go unnoticed. But here's something that I want to really look at, because this is where this for how I see the season playing out. How I see the season playing out. So when you look at the NBA, everything is almost a foregone conclusion in most people's minds. It doesn't seem to even be as open as the NFL sometimes. It really feels, and the way that Vegas has the betting set up, it really feels like nobody believes the Wizards, the Hornets, the Raptors can really do anything. And I was thinking about that, and I'm going, but what if they did? What if they did? How much better would basketball be if a team could truly turn everything around in an offseason? Like you can in the NFL. Now, I think you can. And this is where this is going. I believe you can turn everything around for an NBA team in one offseason. Why? The threshold. It's made teams get really, really smart with how they do contracts or how they keep players on their roster. Because of that, you should be able to turn your team around if you're willing to make the move, if you're willing to go all in. See, the problem is most teams aren't willing to make that move. The fear of overpaying it's really odd. They will do it if you're already on their team, but most teams are apprehensive about doing it if they're bringing you in, which doesn't make any sense. But you see this all the time. A team has you, they will spend no money on free agency, but they will spend all the money on re-signing their own players and overpay for them even at that. So for this year, you guys have heard me talk about baseball this entire last 3 months. I have been raving about how good the product actually is becoming again. I have been raving about how there are multiple teams that can do different things. The Cincinnati Reds made a huge comeback, made the playoffs. Yes, they got swept by the Dodgers, but they made the playoffs. They knocked the Mets out. The Athletics played so great down the stretch that the Astros missed the playoffs because the Athletics kept beating them. And at the end of the year, when you look at the entire makeup of the standings, you realize some teams were actually really close to competing. Some teams are just on the cusp of being able to make some noise in Major League Baseball. The Atlanta Braves had a down year. Their 60% of their starting pitching staff went on the 60-day injured list. St. Louis Cardinals, same thing. They were down. The Miami Marlins were making a run at the end of the year, making it interesting at the very least, fighting to try to potentially get them in a spot to get into the playoffs. The Athletics finished with a 76-86 mark. Big J said it last night. He goes, "You just won't let the Athletics alone, will you? You've been raving about them for a long time." Yes, I have. Because a team that is predicted to be last should get the credit they are due when they finish not last, not second to last, not third to last, or fourth to last. They were fifth. They were fifth to last in the American League. right behind the Tampa Bay Rays, the Texas Rangers, and the Kansas City Royals. They beat the Orioles, the Angels, the Twins, and the White Sox. You get credit for doing something that most did not believe you could do. In the grand scheme of everything, out of 30 teams, 30th was the Rockies, 29th was the White Sox, 28th was the Nationals, 27th Twins, 26th Pirates, 25 Angels. So you are still now sitting top 25. 24 was Orioles, 23 was the Atlanta Braves, and 22nd best in the league, record-wise, was the Athletics. That little team that doesn't even really have a city to call home won 76 games, and I believe the offseason for the Athletics is going to be a big one because the trades and the moves that they made are going to affect everything for 2026. And I believe they can grow. I believe they could really, really make moves that just get this team that two. I think they need one or two bats and one arm. They need 3 players total, I believe, to put them in a position for them to compete consistently enough for a wild card spot. That's my view. So I can't wait. I can't wait. A new season always brings fresh hope. Going back to the NBA, if you are a Raptor fan, you're hopeful. If you're a Pacer fan, Halliburton is out. You want to know how the team does. You want to know what you have besides your star. If you're the Wizards, listen, for the Wizards fans out there, I'm sorry. I do like the draft picks they have. And if they can get more, especially at the deadline, getting rid of the older players, I know it's another year of being down, but I'm hoping that you're a fun team to watch. So I'm optimistic about this year. And I hope we have another different champion again this NBA season. But tonight, the Rockets and the Thunder kick it off at 7:30. And then at 10 o'clock, the Warriors and the Lakers opening up on NBC. Hardball Rock is back, baby. It is back. The best theme song to any sports programming ever. Monday Night Football is fantastic. College Game Day is really good. But Hardball Rock, Round Ball Rock, was flat out the best. Flat out the best. So I can't wait. I cannot wait for the opening up tonight. Okay, so let's get to last night's games and then we'll get to the injury news. So let's start with the Lions basically flexing all over the injured Buccaneers team. Mike Evans is now out for a while. We'll get to the injury stuff here in a second, but he's a big part of this. Broken collarbone. He's out for a while, which means they cannot afford to lose Ibuka. But last night, the Detroit Lions decided they were going to bracket coverage him to cover. Sterling Shepard is good. He's not great. Okay? And the problem the Buccaneers have is they've spent so much money on the receivers, I don't know if they can go out and get another one. I don't know if they need to. Tez Johnson has definitely been good. But last night was the Jahmyr Gibbs show. Last night was the Jahmyr Gibbs show. He had 17 rushes, 136 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had 3 receptions, 82 yards. Receiving. Amon-Ra St. Brown had 6 receptions, 86 yards, and a touchdown. Jared Goff on the night was 20 of 29, 241 yards. 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He was sacked 4 times. On the other side, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers struggled to run the ball, mostly because the Lions jumped out to an early lead. But they ran the ball 12 times as a team for 41 yards. That's only 3.4 yards a carry. Baker Mayfield was 28 of 50, 228 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, sacked 4 times. The leading receiver was Cade Otton, 7 receptions for 65 yards. Tez Johnson had 4 receptions, 58 yards, and a touchdown. And Ibuka had 4 receptions for 58 yards on 12 targets. That's where I think the Buccaneers now may end up being. That is my concern for the Buccaneers. Force feeding one single player. If it's all on Ibuka, I don't think it's going to go over well. They need Bucky Irving to come back healthy. They need Rachaad White as the backup. And honestly, I think they need to really rely on that running game because I don't see any other option at this point for them. I really don't. I really don't. Now, the other game. I have got a couple of different observations on the Texan and Seahawk game. Number 1. I do not understand what the Texans offensive coordinator is doing. I really don't. DeMeco Ryans, I know, has friends in the NFL. And at this point, if he were to bring in Matt Schaub, Sage Rosenfels, David Carr, they would come up with a better offensive game plan than what this Yahoo's doing. You guys know I look at the games not looking at what the players are doing alone, but looking at what situations they are being put in by the coach. We have touted for years Sean Payton's play calling ability, Andy Reid, Shanahan, Sean McVay. We're giving Ben Johnson credit now, Matt LaFleur. The Houston Texans don't have an offensive line that can protect Stroud. He was under so much duress. That wild sequence where it ended up being a backward pass. He can't do anything. He had 2. And yes, I'm putting these on the receiver. He had 2 evades of pressure, dropped passes. Yes, the one to Chubb was low, but this is why I said Chubb is not your running back you need if you're the Texans. You need to make a trade. If the Chiefs go get Breece Hall and don't trade away Pacheco with him, go get Pacheco. Pacheco's better than what you got right now. You can't run Chubb. The offensive line, go get Ruiz from the Saints. You need new guards. I'm not worried about the rookie left tackle. I really am not worried about him. He's a rookie. He's going to make some mistakes. Let him learn. That one's okay with me. But last night was so confusing with how they ran the offense. Because they've had success under center, running the damn ball, like the Detroit Lions, like the Seattle Seahawks. And then they would take him out and they would put him in shotgun. And they would get a 2nd and 1. A 3rd and 1. And they couldn't run the ball and get 1 yard. Listen, Texan fans, I remember those years. I remember all those teams with the Indianapolis Colts where a 3rd and 1, there was zero guarantee in any of our minds that our offensive line could push for 1 yard. I remember those vividly. Where it felt like you had to pass for everything. Well, stop being in single back. Use the power formation. Do something. CJ Stroud is being failed right now by his offensive coordinator. The game flow of the game plan they had set up was bad again. Seattle is too good of a defense. Seattle is at home. It's Monday night. The emotions are high. You have to have a game plan to negate every single one of those aspects. And the game plan was not good. Put Stroud in the back. Let him get hit. That seemed to be what the game plan was. And you can say, well, he didn't play a great game. Neither did Darnold. Don't yell at Stroud if you're not going to yell at Darnold. Darnold threw a pick. Cooper Kupp also threw a pick. But Darnold threw an interception. Darnold fumbled in the end zone. CJ Stroud threw an interception. He was sacked 3 times. Darnold threw an interception. He was sacked twice. The Texans should be what the Seahawks are. Now, if there is a down spot to the Seahawks, it's the running game. 33 runs last night, 118 yards, only averaged 3.6 yards a carry. The Texan defense needs to be given a ton of credit for how good it is. That defense is outstanding for the Texans. It's outstanding for the Seahawks. I didn't think the game was going to be this high scoring as it was. It really was, even though the game seemed to be out of reach, it was still fun to watch because these teams are very evenly matched when it comes down to it. But the offensive line for the Texans cannot match up seemingly against anybody in the NFL right now. Anybody. They need to make a move. They need to get an area that they can rely on. Go get a left guard to put next to the rookie. Go get an experienced guy to put next to Ursery to at least run down the left side. Just go get one. Make one side of your offensive line good. Listen, as a Colts fan, I'm used to it being one or the other. Normally, it was the left side of the line of scrimmage was the best. Tar Glenn, outstanding left tackle. Then we had, hang on. Costanzo. Thank you. All of a sudden, I forgot his name. Then we had Costanzo, really good left tackle. And I'm kind of used to it because for years, the right side was good because we had Ryan Deem on the outside, and then we had Mike Pollock, Ryan Lilja sitting at guard, and Saturday was the center. You don't always have all 5 pieces to the offensive line, but you normally have a position where you can really rely on it. Now, the Texans are 2-4. Are they out of it? No. Is it going to be a really long uphill battle? Absolutely. But what they have working for them is, I believe their issues can be fixed with a trade. I believe their issues can be fixed with making moves. Your defense is really good. Really good. So, big win for the Seahawks. Big win for the Seahawks. Jackson Smith-Njigba is outstanding. Huge win for the Seahawks. And they kept pace in that very, very, very hard NFC West at this point. I mean, good grief. Tell you what, that NFC West is outrageously competitive. Okay. Here we go. Injury news. 20 minutes. Let's go through the injury report. It is not good in some cases. We got some bad news for some teams. Okay. So here we go. The Arizona Cardinals. Coach Jonathan Gannon said yesterday that it is way too early to tell if Kyler Murray's foot injury will be healed by the time they play November 3rd against Dallas. So they have a bye week. Kind of like a Lamar Jackson situation. They've got a bye week and they got to make a decision for the game against Dallas November 3rd. They have a bye, which is huge. Walter Nolan still has that calf injury. He was not activated for Sunday's game. He should be activated for November 3rd. LJ Collier could easily be activated as well, along with Justin Jones, Christian Jones, Hayden Connor, BJ Ajururgi. That one, I think, would be big, especially for the pressure. So we'll be waiting on those. For the Atlanta Falcons, Jalen Walker is still on the injury report with his continued nagging injury. Michael Penix is on the injury report with a bruised foot. We all saw that play Sunday night with the 49ers. Michael Penix is now on the injury report. Divine Diablo is now week to week with a fractured forearm that he got in that Sunday Night Football loss to the 49ers. We'll see if any of the other players can come back. Jordan Fuller was designated to return from injured reserve. Hopefully they'll get him back in the building practicing this week. The Baltimore Ravens have already said doesn't look like Lamar Jackson is going to start this week against the Bears. And I can't blame them. So let me talk about this since we've got all these teams. I understand the pressure that coaches have now to be able to make the playoffs, to be able to compete. But the Commanders just threw Jane Daniels back out there again, and he injured his hamstring again. At some point, you have to start looking at whether or not it works for the team. What's the best interest for 2026 and 2027 and 2028 for the football team? I guarantee you for the Commanders, it is not having Jaden Daniels injured and on the sideline. The same is true for the Baltimore Ravens. I guarantee you it's not in their best interest to have Lamar Jackson consistently hurt, injured with a nagging injury. Shut him down. Shut him down. So, right now, he is going to be out this week for the game against the Bears. Emory Jones is coming off of the injury reserve, but he is not slated to play this week against Chicago. Roquan Smith, Ricard, Awuzie are also on the injury list with nagging injuries. The Buffalo Bills are coming off of their bye week. They designated Maxwell Hairston, the rookie corner, to return from injured reserve. No other news as of this week yet on the Bills players. So right now, this week, you've got Matt Milano, Kincaid, Hairston, Joshua Palmer, Daquan Jones, and Terrell Bernard, all on the injury list for Buffalo. Be watching them through the week. For the Carolina Panthers, the team that is now 4-3, and only one game behind the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for the lead in the NFC South Division. Bryce Young suffered a high ankle sprain. He is at least missing the Week 8 contest against the Buffalo Bills. Andy Dalton will be starting this week for the Carolina Panthers. Guard Damian Lewis has been injured basically all year with a nagging injury. He is questionable. The Chicago Bears had some injuries take place on Sunday. Cole Kmet had a back injury on Sunday. He did not return to the game against the Saints. Tyreek Stevenson had a shoulder injury. He did not return for the game against the Saints. Grady Jarrett, Noah Sewell, and their kicker, their main kicker, Cairo Santos, all questionable with nagging injuries. Mike Gesicki was placed on injured reserve last week for the Bengals before the Thursday night football game. Tanner Hudson and Trey Hendrickson, both of them are questionable. Hendrickson actually sat out Thursday night football. The Cleveland Browns, Aiden Huntington is in concussion protocol for the Cleveland Browns. The Deshaun Watson saga is still ongoing in Cleveland. As of last time that he had spoke, they do not have an update or timetable for Deshaun Watson. David Njoku missed Sunday's game with his nagging knee injury. Jake Conklin, the tackle, also is being watched. Jonathan Mingo, the receiver for the Dallas Cowboys, is going to be activated this week and hopefully be able to play in their game this coming weekend. Marshawn Kneeland, Trayvon Diggs, both with injuries, hoping to be able to stay. Trevor Keegan, the guard, also hoping to be able to continue playing. But there are some interesting injuries. Kenny Clark has an elbow injury. I believe he came back against the Commanders and then went right back out on Sunday. The Denver Broncos have nothing new outside of the fact that they will be without Dre Greenlaw because of the way Greenlaw acted towards the refs after the game against the Giants. Absolutely bonehead move. It's just so stupid. You won the game. You shouldn't have won the game. You scored 33 points in the fourth quarter and won. Like, come on. You were lucky to get out of there with the win, and then you go barking at the refs and get yourself a one-game suspension. So stupid. So stupid. All right. Detroit Lions. Avonte Maddox, Kirby Joseph, Terrion Arnold. They're all hoping to play next week. In 2 weeks. The Lions have their bye week this week. Hopefully they can get healthy. Rock Ya-Sin left with cramps against the Buccaneers last night. Zach Cunningham left the game with the hamstring injury. So the Lions could really, really use this time, hopefully, to be able to get healthy. Bye week, get healthy, come back, ready to fight for the top spot in the NFC North. Against the Green Bay Packers. Dontavian Wicks suffered a calf injury against Arizona. Christian Watson has another knee injury. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Brandon McManus has been injured the last couple of weeks. Keep an eye on him because we all know how important the kickers are. All right. The Houston Texans. I don't know how many of you were watching by the time this took place, but Nico Collins had it wasn't good. He got hit on the sideline and he hit his head really, really hard, right on the back of his head. With his helmet on. But his helmet bounced hard. Man, it bounced hard. And what scares me, and this is why I love football, but this is why I've told you guys, this is why I don't let my kids play it right now. He grabbed his helmet, and that image is what scares the crap out of me. because he grabbed his helmet and he was wobbly, as if his head actually hurt. We've all knocked our heads, okay? We've hit our heads on stuff. We've run into other kids' heads while we're playing in the backyard. He actually was holding his head as if his head hurt. That scares me. He is 100%. I do hope. I would hate it for the Texan fans, but I do hope he goes on injured reserve. I do hope they say, you're out for 4 weeks. Let's be careful with this. Because that did not look good. He needed to be helped while he was walking. He needed to be helped into the blue tent. He needed to be helped walking back to the locker room. Everything was very gingerly. There was no running. There was no jogging. Nico Collins has a concussion, and I'm afraid how severe it may be. It looked horrible, guys. I did not like the look of it. NFL players do a lot of things. They don't normally grab their head as if their helmet, as if their head is in pain. It's not normal. And it did. It was just one of those sights I did not like. I did not like. All right. Next team, Indianapolis Colts. So, Samson Ebukam, he has an MCL injury. Tyquan Lewis has a groin injury. So there goes 2 defensive linemen for the Indianapolis Colts. And it's not like they got a lot of depth in that area. This isn't good. This is not good. Charvarius Ward was already placed on injured reserve Saturday. He's out for 4 weeks. Ebukam will probably be put on injured reserve with the MCL injury. So they need to make a move. Defensively, they need to make a move. All right. The Jacksonville Jaguars. Brian Thomas Jr. has a shoulder injury. I do believe they need him to be able to get healthy. They need their bye week badly, and good for them, it's this week. Tim Patrick, Brenton Strange, Eric Murray, Brian Thomas, Devin Lloyd. They really, really need the team to get healthy to be able to make a push here after the bye week. Jacksonville Jaguars will be outrageously happy for the bye week timing, but we're going to be watching Eric Murray and Brian Thomas Jr. going forward. Jawan Taylor, the offensive tackle for the Chiefs. This is big. Although he's been a guy that has seemingly screwed up right tackle, he's been decent this year. Jawan Taylor left the game with a shoulder injury against the Raiders. Trey Smith, the offensive guard, has a back injury. Josh Simmons, the offensive tackle that they drafted, the rookie offensive tackle, he's been injured for the last 2 games. Now, what took out the Chargers? Offensive line injuries. It is really hard to overcome offensive line injuries. Trey Smith, Jawan Taylor, both of those guys being hurt really can affect that offense because Mahomes could end up having to run for his life. All right, the Vegas Raiders are hoping to get their corner, Lonnie Johnson, and their safety, Polamalu, healthy for the future. Lonnie Johnson is slated to come off of injured reserve. And after the Week 8 bye, Brock Bowers, Jacoby Myers, Isaiah Polamalu, and Lonnie Johnson and Max Crosby are all expected to be just fine. and come back stronger. And hey, maybe the Raiders can make a trade over this bye week, get a quarterback that's not going to turn the ball over. I still think go get Jacoby Brissett and see what you can do. All right, the Los Angeles Chargers, thankfully, there isn't a ton else going on, but they're still injured and beat up on the offensive line. That's why Justin Herbert is getting hit so bad. There's really no other way of looking at it. The Rams are completely healthy. Cameron Kinchens, toe, sustained that injury on Sunday. He's out. He's questionable for the future right now. Puka Nacua, though, he's hoping to come back after their bye week. Miami Dolphins, Darren Waller has a strained pectoral muscle, so he's now injured and out. Hey. And really, this team just needs to just throw it all in. Just throw in the towel and move forward. The Minnesota Vikings, J.J. McCarthy and Carson Wentz. The reality is this. Nobody knows who's going to be starting against the Chargers on Thursday night. We'll find out. Hopefully the Vikings will know. Ryan Kelly is on injured reserve with that concussion. C.J. Ham has a left hand injury. Xavier Scott has a wrist injury. Carson Wentz still has a left shoulder injury. So the Vikings are banged up, but their defense is still outstanding. Patriots have no new injuries to speak of. Good for them. They're healthy and right now first place in the AFC East. The New Orleans Saints had two very bad things happen. Number one, Kendre Miller, their backup running back, will miss the remainder of the season with a knee injury. And Eric McCoy sustained a season-ending biceps injury. So there goes your center. Now trade your guard, Ruiz, trade your guard, trade Granderson on the defense, get your draft picks, and just look at 2026 now. Just look at 2026. We are looking to the future. All right, the New York Giants. Brian Burns, the outstanding pass rusher this year for the Giants, was wearing a walking boot on his right foot after the loss to the Broncos. Paulson Adebo had a knee injury. They're watching him currently right now. They do have some injuries that you're watching if you're the Giants. They've got the big game this week against the Philadelphia Eagles, this time in Philadelphia. Philly should win that one, but obviously we'll see what happens. The New York Jets, Sauce Gardner is in concussion protocol. So we'll see if he ends up playing. Kene Nwangwu, the backup running back, he is also in concussion protocol. So the New York Jets, there's just no good news no matter who you are. There's just no good news no matter what. All right, the Philadelphia Eagles, Cam Jurgens, knee injury. He was out Sunday against the Vikings in the later half. The offensive line has not been great. Adoree Jackson had a concussion. We'll see how that plays out. Jeremiah Trotter Jr., ankle injury. He was out for the rest of the game against Minnesota. Really, it was just Philly was happy that Carson Wentz was the quarterback they were playing against. Really what it comes down to. Really what it comes down to. The Pittsburgh Steelers right now don't have any new news outside of Calvin Austin, which went down in the Thursday night game. We'll see if he's able to come back. The San Francisco 49ers center Jake Brendel. He will be out for a few weeks with a hamstring injury. Bernardo Green is day-to-day heading into the Week 8 matchup against the Texans. Bryce Huff, the outstanding pass rusher, has a hamstring injury. He's out for a while. He is out for a while. They're hoping to get Brock Purdy back and hoping to eventually get Ricky Pearsall back as well. Seattle Seahawks, as of last night, no big things. No big things. Mike Evans, like we said, he will be out for the rest of the year for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with a broken collarbone. Hassan Reddick left the game last night. He has a knee/ankle injury. And we'll see what happens with him. Injuries change the season. They can change the trajectory of a team. Buccaneers have some pretty big players that are injured. Tennessee Titans. L'Jarius Sneed has a quadriceps injury. He left the game against the Patriots. Jeffrey Simmons has a hamstring injury. So this team is just keep getting beat more and more and more. The Washington Commanders did not get good news on one of their players. Dorrance Armstrong, their highly paid defensive end, is out for the remainder of the year with a knee injury. Jaden Daniels' hamstring injury is not considered long-term. Here's the problem. If you're going to play hard on it, it can be long-term. Terry McLaurin and Deebo Samuel both have questionable designations again heading into this week. All right, so this week, week 8 in the NFL season, this week is the first week with 6 bye-week teams. The teams that are not playing this week are the Lions, the Raiders, the Rams, the Cardinals, Seahawks, and Jaguars. There are 6 teams off this week. So, that means we only have 13 football games between Thursday and Monday night. The double headers for Monday night are over. And I know there's a lot of fans that are happy about that. It doesn't bother me. I drive overnight, so I like it. It gives me football longer in the night. What am I going to care? But I do understand it. All right, so tomorrow we will start previewing some of week number 8, and tomorrow's game is to star or not to star. That is the question. Are these stars good enough to not trade? Are they untouchable? Teams need to make moves. If you are just sitting in that spot going, we got to do something. What is it that we're going to do? The Vikings are right there. Injuries change trajectories of how a team can go. They change the trajectory. Teams are going to have to make moves. I think this is going to be an outrageously busy trade deadline. It's already happening in fantasy football as people are getting their teams set up and ready for the playoff push. We'll have the fantasy update tomorrow as usual, and we'll get ready. We'll start getting ready for week 8. But tonight, turn on NBC at 7:30. Do a little bit of nostalgia. If you don't want to watch the whole game, that's fine. 7:30, NBC, Rockets and Thunder to open the NBA season on NBC with Round Ball Rock as the opening theme song. It's back, and I cannot wait for it. All right, guys, we'll go over everything that happens from today to tomorrow. Let's take a 23-hour break. Recharge, recoup, and honestly, have some fun. Make it the absolute best Tuesday that you can. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I deeply appreciate it. Make sure to like, subscribe, share the podcast with a friend to help the podcast grow. That is it for today, guys. Injuries, man. Injuries. They are everywhere. All right, guys. Have an absolutely fantastic rest of your day. For Sports Talk with Hawk on this beautiful Tuesday morning, I am Hawk, and I'm out. Have a great day.